Hello everyone and welcome back. My name is Audrey Shantz and I'm a watercolor artist and a watercolor teacher. And this is Pickles, who you haven't seen in a little while, who used to be in so many more videos. Let's give her a good belly rub. She's my buddy. I had to grab her and start my video fast because I felt like you just needed to see her today. So we are on, I think, the 8th week. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, yep, of our Planter Buddies series. And it has been such a fun series. I love it. And I'm starting to think about, what if I saved some of the other plants that we haven't done yet for bigger paintings, and we did maybe a short series where we have some bigger paintings. So if you have thoughts on which plants you'd like to see us draw and paint together, can you leave that in the comments below? I'm thinking maybe 4 weeks, and I think the jade plant will be one of them, because I keep wanting to do it with you guys, and I just feel like I don't have enough space to really give it the justice it deserves, and it's my favorite. So that's one of them. If you can go to the comments, though, I would love to see what are your thoughts on that, because that sounds like a really kind of fun place to go next whenever we finish this series up. And I don't know when that'll be, but I'm working on it. Without further ado, here's what we're painting today, and I'm obsessed. I love it so much. I like the brightness of it. I like that we get some watercolor bleeds in there. I think it's cute because it's a bird, and I like how it's a short plant on top. It just felt different and fun today. So that's what we're doing. We'll be working on a 3" by 3" piece of watercolor paper. I'm going to quick show you what I got for my birthday for my water. Isn't that cute? It's from World Market. It's just like this little vessel. All right, I'm going to turn the camera around today for us to get into our supplies, but like always, they are linked below. And if you are here and you haven't already done the 30-day series that we did back in October, it's 30 days of watercolor tips and tricks, and it goes in order. There's a new thing every day, and I feel like it's a really good foundation for watercolor. So I'm sending you there just for fun, and let's get started. Wait. Let's not get started. Guys, I've stopped lighting the candle. Did anyone notice that? So let's get a candle. If you have one, it's a really great ritual to be in. And here's my candle for today. Do you know that you can print out your artwork and make labels for candles? You can. And so that's a painting I did of my downtown. And okay, so we've got our candle lit. Get a drink. Make sure you're cozy. Make sure if you want music on, and like get a nice setup, so we can have a lovely time painting together. And now let's get started. Okay, so for supplies, I always like to actually have a towel. Here is my water. I have got a size 10 round watercolor brush and just a regular pencil. I do have a kneaded eraser because I take my erasers real seriously. 3" by 3" piece of watercolor paper. Here's my paint set, and this one is linked below. And then I've got a little spray bottle to spray my paints. And this is a heat tool that just is kind of like an old hair dryer. I think that's it. We do not need to have a ink pen today. We're not really doing any of the outlining. So there's that. And let's see, I wanted to show you, gotta get my stuff sorted here. I just wanted to go through these for a second and then look at this one with it just for fun. So, okay, here's where we've been so far in this series. So if you haven't done these ones, you can find them. Just a couple behind us. Frida and the turtle, here's our jam jar, and then here's our bird. So I really love the variety that we've been able to see with different shapes in our plants and stuff. It's been super fun, and you guys just do such beautiful work. Really, really fun to see that. So we are going to get started how we always do, which is observing and drawing. So I'm getting all my lights adjusted for you. So first, let's start with observing. First, she's beautiful. Those color bleeds, the balance of warm and cool colors, the fact that we have like all through our value scale, if you look at, we literally have white all the way to basically a black, although it's not a pure black. We have such depth in here, and I just love that. I like that our plant is sort of light and bright this time. We do have dimension. We do have varying depths in our green and different colors in there, but we also like let it be kind of light and happy and cheerful. And a bird, I mean, can you tell I want springtime? We're almost at the time change, and I am here for it. But yeah, I really love her, and we gave her a little shadow too. Why is she a her? Because she is today. This is a succulent plant in a bird planter, and I just think she's great. So as we observe, though, you know, she is not a square, so she's not just going to be easily centered. You know, she's got a little bit of differences here. We still don't go to the edge of the paper on either side. She doesn't have to be perfectly balanced to be balanced, because if we would look for equal space on these two sides, she'd be even shifted more to the right. And then, you know, the bulk of the planter would not be in the center. So you can always kind of make little choices there. And this is going to be a little bit different. You see that we've got wet on wet going on over here. We also have white on our paper. We have a hard line coming across here. The blue and this brownish black color blend right here together. So that was clearly wet when it was painted. You can see we have this white sort of lip to the top of the planter, and then darkness and depth under the plant to really sort of establish, you know, that it's in there. I did not do anything with dry brushing or more detail. It's sort of just like, sort of a nice, soft, simple planter, but look at all these things we're going to learn while we do it. So also, look, we have more space on top than normal because this is more of a horizontal, wide plant today, and some of them have been like tall, and we have to make all this space for their leaves, but not today. So so let's get started. The most important thing always will be to press lightly with your pencil. And that's the same thing again today. So how I started this one, I want you to just kind of stick with me. We're all going to just do this little by little. And as we see things that we like or don't like, we'll be erasing and just kind of shifting things. And that's why we're pressing so lightly with our pencil. I'm going to really emphasize that today by like this: light, medium, dark. Okay, and I'll take this kneaded eraser, which I love, and I'm just going to go over all of them. I am literally moving my table. I'm pushing so hard, and you can still see, honestly, 2 out of 3. Okay, and that was just medium. So even then, light on your pencil, because then you can sketch freely and play around and try new ideas, and you know that you'll be able to kind of get them back. So here we go. All right, so as I look at this, I do have like almost like a pencil down here underneath of the bird. So if we come and try to find center from left to right and about a pencil width top to bottom, and put just maybe just put a little line here, okay? And then as we're looking at this, it's a rounded shape, and it's not really symmetrical, but if you look at the base of it, would be like, you know, a kind of a pancake here. We are looking at the side of it though, so everything's going to be just a little bit unique today, and I know that you can do it. So I'm going to start with the shape I think I see up here, and it is different because if you look at the tail, look at this line, that would be like the base of the tail would be going this way. So let's see, I've got maybe a finger's width to the left of it, and that'll give us space for the tail, and maybe half of a finger, or I don't know, a little more than your pencil. Let's see, to the right, a little bit more than your pencil. And with that, somewhere in the center from top to bottom, we're going to start, see how I'm starting with that line a little bit? I don't even know if that's the line I want to keep, but it's where we're going to start. And then I'm going to come around this way, and now we're about to here. Okay, so as we move over to the right, we need to find, it's not exactly a circle, and we'll see that in a moment, but let's start with a circle. So as we come up here and look at the top of the bird's head would be kind of where the back of that planter is. So I'll come like right here. Now listen, I'm just saying what I'm doing as I do it, but in a minute, if this doesn't look good, we're all moving it, okay? We're in this together. Something like this. It's not right, but it's close. Okay, and from here, what if we try real lightly? Just take your pencil down. Let's look at the angle that we see here. I'll show you kind of straight would be this. And it's not that. It's a bit of an angle like that. And we'll kind of bring it this way. I really love what happens when I take time on the sketch. I mean, if you just put down the first thing that comes with your pencil, I just think that maybe you'd like it better if you just sat with it a minute and came back. So now I've connected this side with a bit of a curve, softness right here, bringing it across. And look at this, the bottom, like where the shadow starts, is all the way basically halfway in that circle, okay? Not quite, but almost. So let's look for our circle and come down, something like that. Now what I do like is when we're in this circle, if you come that way and bring that down a hair, you get this line, okay, which is nice. And then we're gonna take this and kind of round it out like that. If you think, oh my gosh, stop going so fast, Audrey, and you're mad at me, take a screenshot right now while I've got that bird on the screen. Because really what you need is to be looking at this one and going back and forth between your paper and this reference, you know, and that's how we kind of go, like, does this line look right? Is this curve right? This is weird. I see that, but I'll see it better in a moment. So I'm making a little adjustment, but basically I'm going to leave it for a minute. Let's get the tail on here, and first let's look at it. So if this was the center of my paper, the tail is kind of right above it. It starts right at that center, and it goes this direction. It's almost 45 degree, but really that would be 45 degree. So down a little. I don't know enough about degrees to tell you what degree that is, but I believe in you, okay? And so I want to make this line where I think it's going to end, and that I'm just choosing it. This doesn't have to be perfect. Okay, so I got this, and it's basically right at the top of this is where it starts. So I'll try to connect them. Same thing. I want it to be kind of like it comes in right here. And anyways, this plant's going to cover it. So everybody's light on your pencil because this line will be erased, at least partially. At least I think so. You know, you can always do what you want, but now I want to start to find the shape of this bird side a little bit better before I start into my plant, just so I like it before we get going. So right here, as I see it come up, I'm going to focus on this line, this diagonal line a bit. You look at yours and see what you've got, and we're all just making changes. So it comes up. I do like it to be a little bit flat maybe, and flat again. When I say flat though, get rid of your corners eventually. Just use this for like a guide. And then from here, I'm going to put this side of the nose. It's not a nose, it's a beak. It's like a corn cob pipe in a button nose. That doesn't make sense. It's a carrot nose. Anyways, okay, tangent. I'm going to put a dot where it's going, and I'm going to connect them. I don't want a sharp point though, so if it got real sharp, I'll just soften it up with a curve. And I'm going to start erasing some things I don't want to see anymore. So you do the same. This already is just not exactly the same one as we see here. But like yours isn't going to be either. We're all just working with what we got. Like always, you know? Cute. Cute-ish. I'm still uncertain on that. I do want to kind of flatten this out. I don't want it to be tipped, so I'm using the bottom of my paper to make the bottom of my bird a little flatter. And that feels pretty good. Now, let's keep working on the bird for a second. Okay, so we're not putting a lot of pencil lines in here. I'm going to show it to you. I didn't erase them. Okay, so you can see there's a pencil line here to give me just this curve I wanted to kind of use when I got into my paints. I do have this line just showing that side of the bird's head because that felt helpful to me, I guess. And then see this line right here? It gave me this space to go. Like I know I can put some brown, a little bit of blue, and still have white and have a line. So if you wanted lines everywhere, no one's stopping you. But I'm just going to stick one down here that still follows that curve from the top. Okay, so let's start with a little bit of that. We've got this one, and notice they kind of intersect. It's like 1, 2. If you follow that around, it's about halfway through the bird. A bit of a curve like this. Press lightly so you can change it. We'll do one for the bottom of the blue first. Just a little bit. Don't even follow it over. Well, that might be easier for you. I just painted this last night while I watched the Great British Baking Show, which is my new favorite. I know it's existed a long time, but I'm into it right now. Okay, and then one more line right here. So this is what I've got. I've got 1, 2. This one, if you want to follow it up, you're looking for where does this, so it's like a scoop down and then a scoop up. unless you want to say those reversed, but it's an S a little bit, right? And it ends right here at sort of the base of that beak. Okay, I'm slowing it down a little bit because I feel like I rushed through that. And I'm going to clean that up just a hair. What we want is space for all the colors. And that's our little challenge today. I think you're going to like it. And from here, let's put the eyeball in there. I didn't when I initially did it. I just put it on there last. So if you want to do that, you can do that too. And then right here, okay, you're going to decide. Let me zoom in. You're either going to add an extra line under, right? Or inside of, depending on if you want to make this look a little smaller or a little bigger. So you're just looking at yours for a minute to decide. I'm going to change my angle slightly. So that's why we do this drawing, is just because I just looked at it through the camera. So a good tip for you is if you were to pause the video for a minute, take out your phone, take a picture of this and look at it small. And it's funny, but it just gives you the gift of, it's like if you got up and stood 20 feet away. It's just going to give you that perspective. Okay, I like all of this. We need to get our plant in here. Let's stop and observe. The plant has, basically we have, I'm going to simplify it into 3 different layers, though it's not cleanly so. Here's our first layer, is these ones down here. The second layer just consists basically of 1 today, okay? The third layer is these ones that go up, okay? Up like this. It's never quite so clean because, you know, plants are organic shapes, but that's how we're going to do it for today. So when we start to draw, we could really put this one in first, okay? And then these. Oh, you know what? I always show you a reference, and I didn't do that today. And you know what? I'll pop it in later on, okay? So you can look at that reference, and in it, what I want you to see is that these come... Sorry, guys, I'll hurry through this part, but these shapes are this is like that middle one, but when we get up to here and they start skinny, they widen up and they come here, and they do have kind of this little cute point on them. And that's up to you how much you do that. But do you see they come to a point, and I think that's kind of something that will help us identify kind of what type of plant it is. You know, we're always looking for those little cues. Let's take this one though. Basically it's an oval, and it is on this one it's above the head, but I think on this one my head's a little bit higher. So somehow I'm going to move it right about here. You're going to find somewhere in the center, and it is straight on top, small curve on the sides, a little bit of a bigger curve on the bottom, like a bigger smile on that bottom. I'm still not sure that's my long-term shape. That's just what we're starting with. I'm wondering if I should have put it lower, because look we don't need much space for these ones. But from here, I'm going to put a dot right where these ones meet. Okay, and where's it going? This one that goes out to the left. Let's put a mark right here. I want it to come all the way to the top of that planter and just cover it a little. And this one will come kind of to this part. So now we will go. This one goes that way. This one goes that way. I don't want a ton of space between them, because that's going to be like a dark shadowed area, and I just don't want a lot of that. And I think before I keep going, what if we real quick put in this, which would be the top of the planter, that white part. See that? Because I think that gives us really nice light and shadow effects and kind of dimension there. So I just quick did that right where my leaves won't be covering it. And then from here, I also this is using our negative space, is right here. Look at that little triangle. Perfect. I can put a little triangle right here, and I know I'm going to like that. And I'll close off this first one. Every time I do that, that's just me hitting my pencil right into the light. Okay, and we can bump it out and give it that point if you want to. This one, so they are tighter at the base, which is like here in the center of the plant. But for now, I'm not going to worry about that too much. I'm going to put another triangle here. It's kind of a brilliant way to do it, isn't it? Because it really gives you direction for these ones. And we're quickly getting there. Now, you know, I do things weirdly sometimes. Let's get this one in next. But, you know, I want to put some of these ones in and use them as a guide for the rest. So as we look at this, if we took this one, it's kind of like really big, wide bunny ears. It's not, but it is, you know? So what if I'm going to put a triangle at the top? It's like this.
See that? And I want to kind of come up. Remember, this whole thing isn't too tall, but I'm looking for, where's the side of this one? Almost to the edge, up and away to the right. And now I'm going to take it and point it, but it seems like it's going off to the top right corner, which is great. Towards that way, at least. And then I'll do this one too. As we use our negative space and we look right here, we're looking for what shape does that make? And then we'll come this way. I see kind of some straight lines in here. I'm going to use those. See that? And it gave us a really cool shape. So we're trying for something like that. We'll erase what we don't want later. On this one, this is an easy next step for me, because if this is the one in front, then this one's right behind it. I can start right beside it and come up and just make it like a skinny one. That would be kind of covered a little bit. And now I can see, here's my center, here's my bottoms. I've come all the way to here. I've got 1, 2, and a little bit of one that's kind of covered left on this right side. I know I'm a little fast, so I'm gonna take a drink and let you keep working. And this one, I like it because look at the space between the two. That's our Q right here. It's kind of like a curved V. And I like it because look at that shape it gives us. This one really comes up. It's pretty. And before I close that one off, I'm going to do the next one too. I see it coming all the way over to about here. Now you could, before you put this line, put a dot where you want it to go, and that's great too. And then like close the bottom of that one off. I'll close the bottom of this one off. I now have both of them. But this didn't get turned into anything exactly. And I do like that we've got that dark color under it. So I just put a little bit of space between. Okay, and I like how it's turning out. It's like pretty good. I still might shift some, but like it's coming together. Hopefully you're starting to see it. And from here, I think I have 3 left. I have these 2 sideways ones and the one that tucks behind this one. So you notice a lot of times I really divide a plant in half and do one side and then do the other. This one comes up. I don't like it. It's a little too close. Comes up like this and over. I don't know if I've told you this. I feel like I have, but my dad passed away. Oh, now I don't know the exact amount of years. 11 years ago, I think. And he was an artist. And he just never got to see me do art. I think he would have liked it. We would have just hung out and talked art, you know? Okay, I just did that one. Now I've got this one. Notice it's skinny, goes this direction towards the corner of the paper. And you can always use your pencil for things like this as well to kind of try to get those shapes in. I want space under it, so I'm going to keep it nice and tight here. See that? Real tight, because I want space. These spaces between really help define our shape. So if yours is turned into a like kind of a blob, like it's all in a circle, but you don't have any of these, I would say do a couple shifts right now to get space between. And I'll do one here because I need it, and it's going to overlap my tail on purpose. That shows us that it kind of lives in front of it. Oh, do you hear Pickles? She's meowing. Okay, we're going to look at it and start to erase what we don't want. So I have a line from my tail that went through my plant. The plant is in front of the tail, so that line's got to go. And this is when you're looking at it and you're like, does that make sense? I think I need this center one to be just a little bit bigger. So I'm going to erase that top, make it a little bit wider. That feels a lot better to me. And I haven't done in-person classes in a while, and this week I had 3. It was actually really fun. But I have a really bad back, so then that was a bit of a struggle. But man, did I have fun. So cool to see people like learn to love painting. All right, I am digging this. I think the face is going to be a little different, and I'm okay with that. This one's a little lower, and I really like that, that the head doesn't come up too high. This will look different because it does. And I'll just shift it the tiniest bit. That way, maybe you feel free to do the same. When we see these things, I mean, you just got to decide, do I like it anyway? Or, oh, no, I really wish I would have done it like that. Then just do it now. And that's why we draw first. That's why I make you go through this whole drawing stage first. Okay, pencil that you don't want to see later, get rid of it. this is your moment to kind of go, do I like it? And if you do, you're done. And if you don't, take a little bit longer with that pencil and eraser. We are going to now get into our paint mixing time. Grabbing up my brush, and grab your spray bottle if you have it. And we will, I hope you can see well enough. It feels dark today, but it is dark today, so that's why. Okay, so I sprayed this whole side of my paints until they look nice and glossy. You see that? And that really sets us up for, like, it kind of activates the paints. It sets us up for good puddles here. And look at that. My thing's kind of, I have a lot of paint sets, and I just took this one from a party that I did. Oh, what a mess I am. Look at this. All right, I'm cleaning up my hand. We are going to look at your bird for a moment, and first of all, you're going to decide, are those the colors that you like? Are those the colors you want to see? My take, heck yes, they are. I love them. But maybe you really want this to match something else you've painted, or match your kitchen, or maybe this is for something. Maybe you want purple in there still. That's up to you. Okay, so what I'm going to do first, I think for a minute, let's start with the green because it's light, and while our water's nice and clean, we'll just get into that. So I dipped my brush into my water, and I'm going to get into this nice bright green here. I touched I kind of swiped onto that maybe 3 or 4 times and put it right here. I already had a good amount of water on my brush. If I didn't, I'd go right to my water and back so that this looks like a puddle. And this is your reminder that puddles have to be puddly. They have to have water in them to be able to move. I'm also going to add some of that lemon yellow, which is the second from the bottom if you're using this set. And I did bring my set over here. So first of all, this one that I used was called Yellow Green. I know some people are using other sets that I've done reviews on, and so I'm going to try to be mentioning colors. This one here is Yellow Green, and I just added lemon yellow right here. And I want it to be light, bright, cheerful, almost fresh, neon almost color, real nice and light and bright, because I think that's going to give me some variety to work with when I get into the flower. So from here, oh no, I think this set doesn't have the color. This set has double, same color right here, these two, which yours shouldn't have. So I'm going to play around for a second, but we want some sort of a light green. Don't think so much yellow in this one. Think just a green that you like. This will be kind of your base color. And as I do this, I'm grabbing paint from here and water from my water jar, and I'm mixing them together. And this is your mid color. So with watercolor, we are always working light to dark. Watercolor is transparent. And we need to start with painting our lighter colors first. So I want a color that I like. I am struggling because the color I want isn't here, but that's okay. I'll get it, and you will too. You probably don't have the same set as me. Although, little shout out, I really do like this set. It's so easy to use. Okay. Yellowish green, light green. And then what I was noticing as I was looking at the reference was that it kind of has a grayish green for the shadow. And if you think for a minute about succulents, I think that'll make sense. So now we have the decision, how do we want to get a grayish green? You can do green plus the teeniest bit of black, which I've got in that top right corner. I don't often just use black, but sometimes it's just like, why make it harder? It's right there. I'm also going to add white into it just for fun. And I want to try to get it to match these colors better than mine currently does. Okay, so but if you're ever adding black just for a tiny bit of gray, just realize you're just barely getting your brush into there. It's mostly water, a little bit of black. So now I've got this color that's a little grayer, and I think I like that. And as I said that, I just grabbed a little bit more so I could just make sure. Okay. And then I don't know if I'll use this darker color or not. We don't need a lot of depth. I want you to see that how we get depth is by the shadow under and into that soil being so dark. But these, if we think about values, let's pull out the value scale. This is a free printable that is on my day 1 or day 0 video of our 30-day series. Okay, so if you wanted, you could print out this whole little booklet, and it goes along with the videos. But as you look at this value scale, These dark colors we get under the plant. Inside of the plant, we get maybe to, what is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe to the 5th, but not a lot darker. So try not to get too dark in your plant, and that will keep it light and fresh. Okay, so we're there. We got a couple different greens. We might play with that more, but for now, that's a great start. And for the bird color, I did a brown with a little bit of black in it, and that gets us this more neutral version of, I don't know, it's a color I use for bark a lot too, mixing black and brown together. So let's see, what am I grabbing here? I actually say, what if you grabbed yellow sienna, which is next to yellow ochre? Try that maybe, and a teeny bit of black. Really use what you've got, a little bit of brown, a little bit of black, small increments plus water, and that's your bird color. So think about if you like it. Just look at it and just be like, is that right? So right away when I added a little bit more black, it turned into this color that just made more sense. I don't want a very yellow brown because look, I want the belly to really pop. Make sense? Okay. So I've got that now, great. And for the belly, let's make a couple little puddles, but let's keep them small because we are going to want wet on wet, but also control. We don't want it to flow across the whole body. So I'm dipping the tip of my brush into my water and grabbing this. This one is orange yellow. It's the 4th one up here. So if you don't have this set, it'd be take an orange and a yellow together, or it really might be your orange. It's kind of a middle of the road orange. So I've got that one as my puddle, and if you look at it, we're kind of going to start with that one when we paint, and we will load in some of the darker red color. So you can choose what color red are you going with. I actually don't remember what I did, so I'm going to say somewhere in here, but you decide. It's going to stick a little closer to orangish reds, but really, I mean, you can't go wrong. It's going to be beautiful. I probably did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe somewhere between here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That'd be like scarlet. I maybe did scarlet. So I'm going to take this one. And notice I did not add any water to my brush, but I had a little already on there. And I'm grabbing this out. I think I'm going to do a little, I'm going to mix them, guys. So you mix them too. Just look how tiny my puddle is. That's what's important to us here. Look how small. It's puddly. I can still move it around, but it's a lot smaller than some of these. This will give us good control when the time comes. And I think I'm going to do a video soon of like 5 helpful tips that are like really good ones. So watch for that coming soon. Okay, love it. We've got, you can hardly see my orange. It's here though. We've got orange, we've got red. We need that beautiful light blue, and I think we'll be good to go. So whatever blue you want, I probably did something like this one. 5th one up would be sky blue. Taking my brush and just grabbing some. I don't want a lot again. You'll lose control easily here, and we want wet on wet. You think loose and free because the colors are going to bleed, but if you want them to bleed only where you tell them, you have to have water, but a limited amount. You with me? Okay, so I hope you're feeling good. I think this is going to be so fun. I think we're going to start, I didn't make a plan for order here. We are going to start with the bird. We're going to do the whole bird first, I think. Listen, I can change my mind, but that's how I'm starting it. Moving my paints a little bit out of the way, and I can zoom in for you. And the way that I started this is the way we're going to do it. This is just how I did it while I was watching the Great British Baking Show. Is I took this nice brown color first, and I'm going to tell you where we're going before every step because I do think we'll do techniques a little different than we sometimes do. I'm going to do a stripe of this brownish black paint color. It's going to come here along the top, saving a white space above it. If you don't save it now, you got to come back with like an acrylic paint pen, right? We don't want to have to do that. So it's going to come all the way across like this and then get into the tail. And while it is wet, we will touch it with a thin strip of blue. So if you had way too much brown paint and you added your blue and it's really wet, it's going to come down into your blue. So we want to have it be wet, but really just wet enough that that blue will blend in. Okay. And we don't want to go below the line, the pencil line that we created. So remember, the less water, the more control, the more water, the less control. So we want it to be wet just wet enough. And now I don't think I can say it any more times. We just got to be brave and do it and know that you can do this again if anything goes wrong. So be brave. I'm taking, I started with I cleaned my brush, I dried my brush, and I put about the first maybe third of it into the puddle I already created. And now I'll take that, tip of your brush runs along the edges, okay? And then you press into the belly of your brush to kind of keep it moving. I'm staying under the line of white. You can always watch me do this first instead of doing it with me. Oh, I already went down too low, so I got to work quickly. Look I covered the blue space. You'll see what I do about that. So tip of your brush, light on the tip of your brush for the details. I already went out of the lines, but we're going to pretend like I didn't. I don't see much brown, but that's okay. Cleaned my brush, dried my brush. I'm right into my blue puddle, immediately into my blue puddle. But my blue puddle, remember when we made it, it's tiny. Okay, so I'm just going to touch it right across all the way up into that face. It's going to compete a bit because the brown got there first. That's okay. I still like it. I cleaned my brush and dried it, and if I want to lift any of that up for some lightness, I can. So remember, you can clean your brush, dry your brush, and pretend like it's a sponge. Lift it back up to gain some control. While it's wet, I'm going to go right into a little bit more black and brown. I'm quickly making up a puddle of it, and I will add it here. Okay, mine already kind of dried, and that's okay because yours maybe did too, and I'll show you what we can do. Skip the tail for now. We want a little bit on the right, a little bit on the left. Cleaning my brush and drying it, taking that damp brush and blending. Okay, rewind me if you need to because this is a lot today. I really think it is kind of a lot. I definitely think you can do it though. Okay, just maybe not on the first try. Okay, so what I did, remember it dried before I wanted it to because I'm talking and working, right? And I wanted some darkness on this side and this side. And so then I had to add it, clean my brush, dry it, and take that damp brush. It's just introducing a little bit of water next to it so it gives you that soft blend between the colors. Beautiful. I think we're great. My head is a little light right here, so I'm actually going to add a little bit more paint. Okay, I like when it all works out the first time, but sometimes it doesn't. So a little bit more darker paint, cleaned my brush, dried my brush, took the tip of it and blended it right here. And now I like that softness a little bit better. Okay, and look what's happening with our blue. Isn't that pretty? Can you see that? It's lovely. It's just a nice little blend up and in there. That's the kind of stuff we love to see in watercolor. Okay, so I've got this part down. I feel like it looks good. I did play. It looks like in this one I added a little bit of red to the tail, and then I thought I shouldn't do that because I'll have to teach that, but it is there if you wanted to play with it. Then let's see here. I think while we're here, let's grab that darkness that you have, that brownish black, and let's just add this darkness along the side of the tail. And what I like about that is that if it's still wet, it'll blend. If it's not, it'll be dry, and it's okay either way. But that's nice. Now look at this. The depth is starting to come along. Okay, so here's what we're going to do next is we're going to get into this belly here. But what we want is for those soft bleeds, but notice they do not touch that blue, and there is white between them. We got to be careful. I'm going to show you how I do it, and I do think for this video, you might like it best if you watch and then do, watch and then do. It's up to you. I'm taking that orange that I made up, okay, and I really have, I'm always clean your brush, dry your brush, dip the first third of your brush into that puddle, and I'm saying that because that's how we know we've got control. I'm going to do a couple of things, and I'm going to work quickly. I am coating this with orange. Okay, staying in my lines a little bit. I'm going to quickly clean my brush, dry it on my towel, and introduce a little bit of water next to it. That's going to be able to flow in. I'm going to immediately get into my red paint, touch it to the belly. Beautiful. And a little bit here as well. So I did it twice. Cleaning my brush, drying it. I'm going to touch my wet brush to the edge of this again. And what's nice is it's just a little bit of water. I'm not touching it to the blue. So that gave us that softness. And now I want to play in this paint. I'm going to get right into my orange paint. Paint, not puddle. And add. Look at that. Yeah. So good, right? So you're playing. It's wet on wet and you're playing, and you can always do this on a separate piece of paper too, or just do a whole flock of little cutie birds. But I like this. It's a little bit more controlled, I think, than this one, but that's just like how much water. So right now I'm adding a little bit more water right here because I want to see it. And while we're here, what if we got into a little bit more of this brown color and just added it right back here for that shading? So that's what I'm going to do. I don't care if it touches or doesn't touch, but let's use that line that we put there as our guide. Let's let it touch a little. It's nice because then it'll make more sense. I cleaned my brush and dried it again and added a little bit of water here, which is going to help that blend. It's so cute. Okay, I want to see if it's still wet. Remember, while it's still wet, look at that. I got more depth by adding more red. So this is your reminder that whenever you're painting with wet on wet, if it's still wet, your playtime is not over. Okay, it's beautiful, isn't it? And if it doesn't blend like you want, clean your brush, dry your brush, blend it. What a cutie. Let's get into orange and get that beak filled in. Lots of control here, very little water. I'm still working from a puddle though. I didn't just go to my paint. Now you can sometimes, but I like the practice of make it a puddle first. You're always gonna, it's your ability to test it, you know. Adorable. Okay, we could have softened this line too, but I like the differences, I think. So I'm leaving that. Our bird is basically done except for the eye and the shadow. Let's get into the plant though, and then we'll go from there. So I want everybody, I at least want you to make sure that when you look at this in the light, you cannot see the light reflecting, but if you can, we'll do this. Just enough. If we find right now that like it was actually wet and you get into this green, and now you've got color bleeds, and it might be pretty, but it might not. So I like to be safe. I want to start with whatever you want to do for your lightest color. It's just a simple way to begin. And I'm going to do this light, bright yellowish green. And I just dipped the tip of my brush into my water. And now look, we're just doing the whole thing. There's lots of ways you can do this. This is absolutely not the only way. If your brain can make sense of it in watercolor and it follows the rules of like watercolor is transparent and we work light to dark, but if you can make sense of that and you think of a different way, that's your way. That's awesome. Okay, that is great. I don't want us to have to do anything while it's wet because some of you, it won't be wet. So what I'm going to do is dry it, but I will tell you if I was not teaching it, I maybe would start to get into my other greens and add little bits while it's wet. But the tricky thing is this is wet and this is wet. So if I added darkness here, it's going to be on both. So you also have to like lift, kind of doing everything at the same time. Okay, I'm going to give it a quick dry. Okay, one thing we're going to do while we add these colors, let's look at the difference for a minute. The one on the left has depth, and that's what we're going to get by adding essentially its light and shadow, by adding these different colors onto here. And so it's going to make them, one way to think about it is it's going to differentiate these, I guess we're calling them leaves on a succulent, from each other. And so we want, you to see that this is one and then this is one. So one of them needs to be darker than the other. One needs to be lighter than the other. That's how we'll see. And if you look underneath of this one, it's got a bit of a shadow essentially under this one, but you see it on these two. So somehow you're differentiating. It doesn't matter too much. We're going to add a little bit of a darker green. Then we'll come in again with an even darker. So I'm going to get into my next puddle. Look at your puddle. Do you like it? Like you got to always be making that decision. And once again, though, I've pretty much got like the first third of my brush into the water and that's it. And now I will start to like, look at this. If I darken up this one behind, now it's very clear, one, that it's a separate petal, two, that it's behind. Okay, I'm going to do it underneath of this one and on the side. So you are choosing this a little bit. If you have one of these plants, put it in front of you. That's awesome. These are like kind of the least expensive little buddies, so you can for sure get one and put it in front of you. I don't know how to keep them alive, but maybe you do. I love plants, but for me, this is not the one I'm going to keep alive. My daughter's good at it though. So notice how I'm adding this color. I'm not blending it. I don't care. And I am on top of this other color. So we're definitely seeing, this is called glazing or wet on dry. And like, I want these two to be distinguished. So I'm just going to actually go like this. It's going to look like this one just shadowed that one. Awesome. It does not look like this one, and that's okay. This one is just a little bit more playing with it while it's wet and loading your colors in. And so if you wanted these softened, you clean your brush, dry your brush, and use the tip of your brush to blend them. But I'm just kind of digging it. And this one, look, I'll do the bottom. So one way is if you do the bottom half, that really is a nice effect as well. So from here, I'm going to keep going, and I want, like, sometimes the bottom inside of a plant is just darker. And then I'll do the blending. Clean my brush, dry my brush, and then I'll soften some of them. You can always do that. It's really cool to have both. It's a good technique to have soft, fuzzy edges and hard edges, both. But this is beautiful. That already gave me a lot more understanding of what's happening in this plant. We're going to go in with one more darker layer, and you can kind of see where that is, just the darkest part. Then when we come in and dry it and get this soil or the shadowy spot, oh, it's going to pop. So get your brush in there, grab your next color, make sure it works with your others. So if you got your darker color and it's a really bluish green, you might not love that with your yellowish green. Makes sense? So try to keep them similar. And then I want to, like, this darker color, I'm going to put right on the edge of this one. It's going to really define that one. Underneath the bottom of this one. Great. And you're playing, and I don't exactly even know how to teach this. If we had a reference, you're just looking exactly at that reference for where do you see light, medium, and dark, and how can you chunk in colors to kind of get it that way. That's it. Chunk them in. I love thinking of it like that because, wow, does chunking in colors sound easy, you know? Usually the bottoms, the insides, anything that's covered by another petal. Look at this. It's got some up here, which I think looks really cool. But I'm going to soften that in about 2 seconds here. So if you're going to soften it, it's helpful if it's still a little bit wet. So that's why I worked quickly on that one. I'm just going to get just like a little bit more in here, not a lot. And I think you're going to like it. My gut wants to get darker into it, but this, and hopefully by now you've seen the reference, though I'm still filming it and haven't put it there yet, but hopefully you'll see, like, it is a light, bright plant. A little bit here. So you're just kind of zhuzhing. You're just like, where do I think there might be? And squint your eyes and see, does this shape make sense to you in your brain, you know? And this is something that over time you get better and better at. I like it. And it's very, very, like, not very wet because I was using such little bits, but I will still give it a quick dry here. Because we're about to get into with a really dark color right next to it, and wouldn't I be mad if everything bled. So before we get into our dark color, let's grab the bird color that you probably still have a little bit of your puddle of, and that's our shadow today. Coming over to the side. I just came like this because the tail goes that way, but just however, right underneath, real tight underneath of, clean your brush, dry your brush, and use that damp brush to just soften it up. And then I like to add just a little bit more darkness while it's wet. Just always that reminder that while it's wet, you can play. A little bit darker right underneath of it mainly. Okay, isn't that beautiful? I'm so light on the tip of my brush that sometimes I miss the paper, but that's how I know it'll be like a tiny marking. I love this. Okay, we've got our shadow. We've got this part in the eyeball, and you're done. You're doing amazing. Even if you're looking at it and you're like, I actually hate this. The reason you're doing amazing is because it takes that to do it this one time and go, nope, I'm doing it again, and get in there again. And then that's how you're going to go, I like this one better or not. And why? Always go why. Okay, here's what I'm doing, and I should be showing you, but instead I'm chatting. So I just made this puddle. I made it with black and one of my dark greens, which I'm pointing to, and you can't see. Here we go, black. And one of my dark greens, I think I used Deep Hooker's green, third one up. What I want is, I want it to be kind of like black, but I don't like really just using black, and I don't do it that often. So now this is black and green, but I have that depth. Small puddle, still puddly because I can move it around. It's not dried up, but I will have very much control. And as we look at this, we do not want to get rid of that white bit on the top of that side of the planter. So we got to get in between. Light on the tip of your brush. We'll go between our petals, and immediately you're going to see, oh my gosh, it's working. And this is what we created some of those little triangles for, is exactly this. So we're going to get in there. Now remember, if you feel out of control, you have too much water. If it's drying while you work, you don't have enough. You just need a tiny bit more. Okay, love this. I'm going to take this brush and go right there. See, that just gave me just a little tiniest bit. I can do one more, but like less is more if you do this, because it's a risky move, right? I'm obsessed. I love it so much. I don't think I need it anywhere else, but I'm definitely looking for a minute. Look at that depth we just got. And I'll take this brush. Now you can add more black or whatever so it doesn't look like a green eyeball. And add that eyeball right here. Light on the tip of your brush. You don't want this to end up being gigantic. And I think that's beautiful. You could let it dry and come in with a white acrylic paint pen like this and put one little white dot on top of that. Here, I'll show you on this one. If I can get my, I'm shaking my pen really good right now. You know, you got to shake them good and then see if it works. Oh dear. Usually it takes a little more shaking. Let's see if I can get there. Okay, while I shake this pen and see if we can make it. I have got a Facebook page, Audrey Shantz Art, and I love if you would go there. You'll probably be able to find it, but there's a group called Audrey's Art Club, and that's where we can all share our artwork together. And it is so fun to see everybody's art. Here we go. Watch this. I'll zoom in for it. So Audrey's Art Club, share your work if you want to. Look at just what that little highlight did. Isn't that beautiful? And make sure you sign your work if you haven't. You're an artist if you're making art, so good work. And I can't wait to see you next week. Also, don't forget in the comments, give me an idea of some plants you want to do on a little bit of a bigger scale, okay? All right, can't wait to see your artwork, guys. Thanks for hanging out with me.